what we have. Instead of sending 2 ALS trucks to that cardiac arrest like we did just a little bit ago, I think anybody that's in EMS would tell you that a medic and an EMT, appropriate care is going to take more than that. You're not going to be able to transport in the back with doing CPR. And so our rule is that we send 2 trucks to that cardiac arrest. So with our staffing, we're offering a $1,500 bonus to EMTs to try to attract EMTs, $5,000 bonus to attract medics. For the others that are in this area, I think they would tell you there's only so many EMTs and so many paramedics in Effingham and surrounding counties. And when it comes to a staffing issue, this is certainly not an Effingham issue. I have bases in Missouri, Illinois, Iowa, and Indiana. And staffing is an issue all across. Right? And so what do we got to do to incentivize our employees to come here? We've had employees that said, hey, look, this is COVID right now, and our job is to go to it. So when somebody calls, regardless of what they have, we go to that. Some of the employees have said, hey, this isn't for me. We've got multiple positive employees that affects it. And so certainly we've had some status zeros. We recognize that, right? But instead of sitting behind and saying we're going to ignore it or act like it doesn't happen, I wanted to come and have open dialogue. I know there's people in here from multiple different services, and that's okay. I'm totally fine with that. I think I just wanted to be above board and say let's just have an open discussion. I didn't want anybody to think that we were doing anything behind closed doors or we weren't hearing it, but after seeing the stuff in the media, we hadn't been engaged yet. There was a lot of things being said about us, but we hadn't been engaged. And so I'm just here to say that I want to engage with you guys. I want to engage with the 911 centers to rectify that, because I hear you. When you're on the phone with 911 and you don't know who to send, that's not a good feeling, right? I totally respect that. And that's not the position that we want you guys in. So with that, I think that's just the whole intent is to open and create some dialogue.
Thanks, Joe. Appreciate it. Comments from the committee? Questions? Okay, I'm going to open it up to the general public. What we're going to do is a 2-minute time frame on this, since we have so many people signed up. So show of hands, and I'm just going to pick them as they come up. If you have something to say, please do so. Okay, we want to hear everybody's comments. Thank you. Instead of the show of hands, we'll just use the list. Thank you.
My name's Elizabeth Houston. I've had friends, family members, and myself speak with individuals on the Ambulance Oversight Committee, county board members, or members of the 911 board over the last couple of years. I feel it's time for me, as a newly elected county board member, to voice my concerns for the taxpayers of the county as well as those payers in my district. I have spoke with fire department officials, law enforcement officers in my district. When a few of them come to speak with me with and voice their concerns about slow response times at emergency calls, and a patient has to wait for a longer ETA, that becomes a concern from first responders. I'm a first responder within the county, and as well as my husband within my district. And we listen to a portable on many occasions, and since November 16th, we have accounted for approximately 20 zero status calls that we know of personally until December 22nd. I know that is not all of the zero status calls, but a good number to refer to at this point from us just listening. I also have concerns for the dispatchers, who are the voice behind the 911 calls. They're already taking care of dispatching calls for emergency personnel within the city of Effingham and Effingham County. They too shall have a voice, as some have to take the 911 calls for individuals, and when the caller asks for an ambulance, they expect one to be on scene within a reasonable amount of time. They do not expect extended ETAs, and the dispatchers do a great job and are screamed at due to the unfortunate circumstances. We must keep in mind that all ambulance services are struggling in the area due to COVID. As I heard yesterday in the Effingham County Board meeting, Rob Arnold also stated that COVID has unfortunately added more calls to the county for 911 calls. If that is the case, I feel that we should step up as a county and provide for the taxpayers as much as we can. We can see that the county has stepped up on the health department side as far as testing, contact tracing, etc. We cannot always depend on Jasper County as backup for every single call. They too must cover their county as well as their own calls. We cannot always count on outside agencies to help assist with other calls either. I know one instance where Neogra Ambulance, like you had said, was recently called to come over within the county, and because they did not have a mutual aid agreement on file, they would not come. Another issue that I see is Jasper County comes to help cover the county 1, 2, or 3 times in many cases within a 24-hour period. Effingham County does not pay them that I know of, but what I see as an issue is that Jasper County taxpayers are paying for that ambulance to come over and cover our calls within our county. Why should Jasper County taxpayers be paying for coverage in Effingham County on a regular basis and in turn leaving their county very limited or short? Would you as an Effingham County taxpayer like to be paying for an ambulance to be covering another county on a regular basis if the ambulance was ran by our county? Effingham taxpayers deserve the best service and provided quality care within the county during emergency situations. The county has different options. Please keep the Effingham County taxpayers in mind as they are the individuals who we serve. Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. John Pratt?
I don't have comment pertaining to the ambulance, so if I could go last, I would appreciate it, or I'll go now if you want me to.
It doesn't matter, I can call you later.
He can call you later.
Okay.
Kirk Allen?
I'll do the same. I'll let these folks air their grievances. I'll go at the end.
Okay. Brad Miller?
Yeah, I'll just make a comment. It seems to me that the county board itself has created this instance with the ambulance contract and is asking for outside help from other counties that don't have ambulance contracts. Seems kind of silly to me. Effingham County created the problem and is asking for other counties that don't have contracts with ambulance agencies to come in and help and cover. And my personal issue is on 2 different occasions there have been instances involving my family waiting for ambulances. Both times it was Abbott that ended up responding, but I can only imagine the wait time if I had to wait from Diedrich for an ambulance to come to Altamont. They don't have contracts with any of the surrounding other counties. Fayette County is only 3 miles from me, so I would question if they're going to rely on outside counties, why are we relying on somebody to come from Newton instead of Vandalia, Fayette County area? So that's just me personally on 2 calls. We've waited extended amount of times, and I just question that the county created the issue, and the county itself should be solving the issue, not relying on Jasper County taxpayers. So, thank you.
Thank you. John Niles?
Just wanted to say I'm John Niles. I'm the operations manager for Bond County for Rural Med. We cover Vandalia, Fayette County, and now Bond County. Just wanted to come here today and say that we want to cooperate and help any way we can. Representative from Abbott come over. We had a discussion. Had a good discussion. We're going to be going into a mutual aid agreement with them. To allow us to be able to help each other out when we need it. Like I said, we're here to help the county any way we can. We've always been, helpful. When we've been called, we've came over, asked no questions, just did it, didn't ask for anything in return. And like I said, we just want to be here to help. So, thank you.
Thanks, John. Danielle?
I'm good. I thought it was a sign sheet. I don't need to talk.
Okay. You sure?
Danielle's known to talk.
We just want a solution. As dispatchers, we want a solution to fix it. I can't always hang up the phone with the person that I'm talking to call another agency if they can't get a hold of Jasper. That's where our problem is. Like, if I have to hang up with the person on 911, I'm not supposed to do that. To call another agency, to call Rural Med or call somebody else to come over to take my ambulance call. I mean, that's And there's only 2 of us working at a time in my center, so she could be busy, the other person I work with could be busy as well.
Tina, do you have anything else? Tina?
No,
she No.
signed me in.
Billy?
I'm good.
You're good? Okay. Ron Will?
Just briefly, my name's Ron Will. I am on the Ambulance Oversight Committee. I just want to address one topic here. They're saying that you guys weren't aware of this or anything like that. Every Ambulance Oversight Committee, we go into great detail on zero status. First couple times when I was appointed to the first couple meetings, I was here and I sat and listened, and I couldn't believe that, it was a short period of time and the zero status comments were over with. And third time, I think I spoke about 45 minutes about it. But the same issues every time, and we would go over it in great detail. Transfers. You said 2 rigs are required. If the first rig goes out, could possibly, what I'd ask if the second rig could let them know in advance that they're the last one, give them a heads up, because once these dispatchers are in the middle of a call, just like Danielle said, they're committed, and they're handling fire calls, walk-ins, somebody with a cat in a tree, all these things, and they don't have time for that. And just like Jasper County, when they get called out, their taxpayers are paying for these calls out and stuff like that. And we went into great detail, like I said, on this, and at one point, I don't know if you're aware of this, but for documentation, because I don't know where liability is on us with these calls, because there's some people that had critical incidents, some people had died, and I'm not going to get into all that, but I had asked for a recording to be saved on these calls, not after just taking the minutes off of that and typing it out. So we have recordings to document, just so you're aware of that. We have recordings to document our communications, our contact, our information we've been responding back and forth with. Because like I said, because I don't want liability on this, fall on us. We are doing our job on the Ambulance Oversight Committee. We've talked about it in great detail, every topic, and it's listed. So just want you to know that. And these dispatchers and everyone, they're doing a great job, and their hands are loaded. I mean, they're busy right now with this, and it's their worst nightmare not having an ambulance. So, but I'm glad you guys are here. So I got a lot more to say, but we'll discuss it later.
Thanks, Ron. John, I'll talk. Okay. Nick?
Same thing.
You okay? All right. I'm not sure that I can't read that. Yeah, okay, I can't read
We've
it.
got a signature on here that we can't read, so we'll wait till the end, and if you didn't get called, and that's your signature, then we'll call you.
Yeah. John, Perry?
Yeah, I'm also on the Effingham County Board, and back when this contract was written and signed by us and the ambulance service, I was in opposition to it at that time because of the 2 ambulances. And I know you say that's all you're contracted to do, but I was sitting in the room when your representatives told us that if we got to this stage, you would put more ambulances on. And there wasn't no additional $100,000 which is being bantered around at this point. It was you would take care of it if you started to see the need. Well, we have the need, and we've had it even before COVID. We had zero statuses, probably far too many, really. I mean, it should never happen, but you can understand on occasion or infrequently. But it happened even before COVID, and now we're getting a big increase in it during COVID. And it's not being addressed by your agency. I mean, you're a big company. You got stations all across down here. You got problems everywhere. But you know what? We have a need here. It's not being met. And it would be my wishes that we would exercise our 90-day out and renegotiate that contract with you or with other providers in the area, because it's not covering what we need covered in Effingham County.
Connie? Connie here?
I didn't raise my hand to speak.
Oh, it's okay. I just have your name on here, ma'am. Jared Estes.
Oh.
So here, everybody can hear. No, most of you already
everybody. My name is Jared Estes. I'm one of the owners and CEO of Lakeside Ems. We're locally owned and operated. We'll say, off the bat, we had a little bit of history with Abbott just because, the area. Over the last year and a half, we've actually grown really close, and we've worked alongside like some of the best in the country with GMR up in New York City, down in Louisiana. All along, all we've ever wanted to do is help. There are some, no one provider can prepare for every worst case scenario. It's just not enough room in the reimbursements in the budget. By no means are we trying to run anybody out of town, take anything over. If whatever it helps, we purchased 2 stations, 4 brand new ambulances. We just recently hired 19 personnel to help out in the area. We're currently working with IDPH, but they're set back a little bit due to COVID vaccines. And then the holidays and the second round. So we should be able to help out here in the next couple weeks. We do not currently have a mutual aid. Jeff and I talked about it. It was like July of 19. I believe at the time it was a little bit higher than you that had to make a decision, but no matter what happens, I don't see why we all can't work together. I mean, you got Rural Med to your west, you got here us in town. If you guys get busy, it doesn't hurt to reach out and vice versa. So, but that's basically it. Thank you guys.
Thank you, Jared. And back to the first one's on the list, John Kraft.
Well, I'm not here to talk about the ambulance service. I'm here to talk about board rules. I know you guys are a separate board from the county. You're authorized to adopt your own rules. You don't have to accept the rules that the county hands down to you. And here are some of the rules I'm talking. By the way, I appreciate you letting me put my camera right there. I'm hard of hearing, and it helps me hear you guys talk when I can sit closer. The video rules, I've never seen any like this. In order to videotape, you must supply your name, address, type of media recording the meeting on, whether it's video, audio, or live stream. If the camera is larger than a cell phone, it must be on a tripod set up by the 4th row. I appreciate you letting me sit there. But the problems I have are with the general provisions. All video and audio recordings are subject to subpoena in the event their evidentiary use becomes necessary. If a person captures video or audio at a county board meeting, they agree to keep it in its entirety or delete it in its entirety unless it has been subpoenaed to produce a particular video. People taking video and or audio agree not to edit the content of the video in any manner that a reasonable person would believe changes the meaning or context of the video or audio from its original meaning or context. All that does is makes me want to go chop up the video.
Can I say something, Mr. Kraft?
Yeah.
My understanding is what you're reading is provided by the Effingham County Board that is on that table.
Okay.
We called this meeting here. I don't know that that is anything that we have adopted as a board that have covered that. That's the Effingham County's.
Well, I could have saved a lot of talking.
Well, I didn't want to interrupt you because I didn't know where you were going.
But there are county board members here, at least one. I wish you would address that at the county board meeting. And I'm glad you haven't adopted these yet.
They didn't. Nobody handed you that, did they? Or
it was sitting right next to the sign-in sheet for public comment, which was right next to the agenda. So if they're 1, 2, 3, I was assuming that you really wanted me to print my name and my address and media type on the form, which I did not do. So, thanks anyway.
all right, thank you.
Thank you, John. Kirk, Allen?
I'll be brief, I think. My name's Kirk Allen. With the Edgar County Watchdogs, I don't know how long it's been. Mr. Perry, you may recall when we first started coming down here over the original ambulance contract 2.5 years ago?
Longer than that.
3 years ago, whatever it was. I'm an EMT also, I'm a fire chief. I tried to share our concerns with what we have in Edgar County, and it mimicked what you guys are dealing with. It really did. And I said, the contract that you have is going to cause problems. You're not going to be able to take care of your people. We've screamed you're not going to be able to. Nobody listened. I get that. You know, shoot the messenger, ignore the message. You got ambulance committee members that are talking that they've had this issue in front of them, I don't know how many times, how many months, or how many years. And this is a meeting to have a discussion. Has anybody in that committee provided any solutions to the problem? I don't know. I haven't heard too many solutions to the problem. And I know there's a lot of animosity. Hell, we sued the county over records originally starting with this whole deal. By the way, we won that lawsuit. We got the records finally. We were lied to. And now the county has to pay the legal fees. But these are all things that don't need to happen. We've tried not to make them happen, but nobody wanted to listen. What solutions are being put on the table? I can tell you Edgar County is a whole lot smaller than Effingham when it comes to population and traffic and calls. We got 4 ALS units. Actually, that's just in Paris in our county seat. In Kansas, we've got 2 ALS units, and we're a volunteer outfit. We've got 2 more to the north. But we're running basically 6 rigs, 4, 5, 8 rigs in Edgar County. And there's times where we're dependent on Charleston because it may be out on something else. You're not going to do it under this current contract. I'm sorry. It's not going to be, it's not feasible. And I know some don't like to hear that. I know Abbott may not like to hear that, but the facts remain. You got a whole bunch of problems not being addressed. Have the solutions of all these ambulance oversight meetings, have they brought solutions to this table? I don't know. Can anybody tell me?
Well, obviously not, because they haven't solved the problem.
Okay. Well, replace the oversight.
There's only one solution, and that's the way they wrote the contract.
Well,
which
then
I
we're-
voted against.
Okay, then my suggestion would be to,
Which is the 90-day out.
And my
If it's not
suggestion-
working, you got the 90-day out.
well, my suggestion would be first and foremost, replace your oversight committee that's not offering solutions if they've known about it this long. Well, I'm just trying to throw solutions out there, and I know they're not comfortable, and people's guard go up when it becomes, oh, you're being offensive. I'm not trying to be offensive, folks. You got people's lives on the line. Until you've been pumping somebody's chest for 45 minutes, you don't know what it's like, and it's no fun. And it's hard to sit here from a managerial standpoint, and to me, I mean, how many years have you had this issue? And you've talked about, you've recorded it because you don't want the liability. Well, guess what? You got the liability because nobody's put a solution forward. And that's how it happens. And I pray you don't get sued on all these cases, but I think a lot of you, especially with the number of people in here, you know it's coming. You really do. And there is no easy solution, but it's going to take some nut cracking to get down
And it's
to.
not Abbott's fault. They're
Well, I'm
doing
not-
what the contract requires them to do.
I'm not saying it's
That's what I'm
anybody's.
saying. It's the county board's fault. It lies with the county. The liability is going to lie with the county.
And that's
if
what
they
we,
don't get it fixed.
that's what we said, that's what I said when I first came here over this issue, because it mimicked exactly what I've already been through in Edgar County. It's not any different. And I mean, we're still have some issues, but I don't know how many, what you're calling the zero stats, meaning that means there's nobody available? Man, tell your loved ones that. I mean, there's just no way. That is something, I agree, the county board's gonna have to address that. But you know there's conflicts on the county board that your chairman doesn't want to hear any of it. And I know people don't like, they may not like me saying that, but the fact remains, there's too many conflicts with this that's stopping things to get fixed, and you gotta get it fixed. That's all I got. Thank you.
Thanks, Kurt.
Well said.
So we're not gonna solve this problem today, but what we are gonna do, and what we did do, is we were transparent on both sides. We were able to communicate, which needed to be done. That's why this meeting was called, so everybody could have a voice. This is not a one solution fix. There's gonna be multiple things that I'm sure has to be done on the county side, Abbott's side. Who knows what else we gotta do, but It's gonna be a multiple solution to fix this. There was probably some hindsight that we should have taken into account when we were making this contract up. When you do something like that, you think about today and now, and you don't think about tomorrow and what if. And that's when we run into stuff like this. I'm sure Abbott has been, their representatives, Joe and Heather here, have been taking in this information, and they're very well aware that the community feels the way they do about this. They know what that needs to be done now. And I feel that the county is gonna have something to think about as well, as far as the board. So, this is a start, folks. And that's where we needed to be. We gotta start. Does anyone else have any comments, questions?
I have an additional question. If there happens to be an emergency and I call 911 and they tell me they don't know when someone's coming, am I allowed to call another agency for an emergency call in Effingham County? Okay. I think there's some misinformation on that as far as Effingham County having a contract for emergency calls only with Abbott.
Well, contract is to keep companies solvent. Abbott, I don't believe, they're not making any, there's no incentive here money-wise for them to be here other than the calls that they run. It's the only reason they have a contract with the county, is to be able to ensure that they have enough runs here to stay solvent as a business.
I don't really think that's the county's concern, whether private business stays solvent or not.
Well, it's
Our
not.
concern is for the citizens, and we got other agencies in the area that could be taking some of these calls. So to lock them out, just to keep Abbott solvent, shouldn't really be our main concern. It should be no zero statuses. If Abbott can provide that, great.
Well,
We can renegotiate a contract with Abbott, great.
I think there's another part to this though, John. The reason why they did that was, if you remember back when, there's a standard of care issue, and that's the whole reason why Abbott was brought in the first place, because previous ambulance service was not providing a safer standard of
Larry,
care.
I don't really want to rehash. I mean, I could rehash the whole process that took place at the beginning, which in my opinion was not the way to go about it. We certainly didn't vet other agencies besides Abbott. I think they went down and took a look at Jim Reeves' ambulances down in Salem, and that was about it. And they didn't even vet his books or anything else. So, I mean, I'm not going to rehash all that there could have been other providers that might have wanted to step in that could have been able to do exactly the same or more. I don't want to go back, I want to go forward.
Oh, I do
And by
too.
going forward, we need to look at the contract that we currently have that is not meeting our need. And the way to do that is to exercise the 90-day out and then enter back into renegotiations with Abbott and maybe some of the other providers here in the area to make sure we get our needs met. I mean, that's the way to fix the problem, and nobody wants to sit here and tell. There is only one way to fix the problem, and that is to get out of the current contract that we're in. So that's just the way it has to be, or we're not going to fix the problem for the next few years until it's up for renegotiation. So that's the way to fix it. That's the solution.
Well, Ron?
Just real quick, reference, not discussing the zero statuses. We would, the Ambulance Oversight Committee, we would go case by case and look through those and discuss it, make suggestions. Because all we could do is make suggestions, and it's reported that we have done it. It's not like we have not done it, we have not overlooked it. And Mike Shaving, you can vouch for that, correct? We did look at those line by line and discuss it many, many times in very great detail. And we have limitations what we can do. We can maybe recommend, but we have no other power. So that is something to say about that.
I just want to say, Lakeside's going to bring 2 trucks to town. We're going to have them local, but there is going to be setbacks with IDPH, so we're going to have help here as soon as we can. So help is coming, guys.
And just to touch on what he said, Like I said, it's never been Lakeside versus Abbott. We were just a one truck company that wanted to help out locally. And to answer his question, yes, there was a rule. If you call 911 and you didn't get anybody, you didn't get anybody. We've fought for this county for over 2.5 years in federal and local court. We're over $400,000 out of our pocket just to make sure you guys can have help. Just to be able to tell Abbott, and if they can't respond, we'll come to help. So to answer your question, there was a county ordinance. And to quote, since it's all public now on court records, the quote was, we asked about it. They said, you have to have a letter of authorization from this standard of care. Sure. We subpoenaed everybody, RuleMed, everybody got subpoenaed. Not a single person was asked for a letter of authorization. When we asked why, the county board chairman and the state's attorney told us that, let me reflect here, they told us that it was either we sue you or Abbott sues us, you're the smaller fish, and even if we give you a letter of authorization, we can pull it back at any time. So we've been fighting this battle, federal court, local court, on Section 1983 civil rights violation for somebody in power. We're not going to get into that. But just so that we can help our residents, we're not trying to take over Abbott. We're not, like I said, we've grown real big with GMR. I've met some of the best providers I've ever worked with working with GMR all over the country. We've been to hell and back, Louisiana, New Orleans. What we wanted to do is, if no one else is able to respond, why can't we help? I mean, and that's the part that, and no offense to any local news sources, but that's the part that's never got reported. It's always kind of been the lighter side of things. No one's realized that we've been literally fighting since July of 2019 when we weren't even open yet, and we got a temporary restraining order directly from the chairman of the board saying we were not allowed to operate without this letter of authorization, which nobody's been asked for. Jasper doesn't even have one. That being said, I'm just trying to tell you guys, we've been trying to help for 2.5 years now, and every time we do, we hit a hiccup. Now we're to the point where we can. We have an Altamont station, we have an Effingham station, we have an $890,000 station up the road that we want to buy. But God forbid something happens and the contract, whatever, you know, 4 new ambulances we bought, we've got, was it 9 down south we have to help out as well. But in the state of Illinois, like that, it just takes some time. So for the Abbott and GMR representatives, we're not here to, you know, like I said, we've met all your guys up top, all the way down, and they've been wonderful. So we're just here to help. If we can help, awesome. Just know we're here to help either way, no matter what happens with anybody in this room.
Just real quick, my name is Adam Houston, Elizabeth's husband here, and as she said, I have been listening quite a bit. I've got a scanner or a portable that I listen to all the time. Since November 16th, I've counted them, I've documented here just the different times that we've been listening, just off and on, 26 different times that they were status 0. Okay, I understand, like you said, like I've told everybody here, it's not Abbott's fault, it's the county contract's fault because they're only mandated to have 2 ambulances here. But a couple of those calls, one of the calls right here in Effingham that they paged them out, and EF 142 was taken out of service due to a supervisor request. Effingham City and Effingham County didn't even know that. They paged the ambulance out, and they come on there and they said, "Oh, we're status 0. We don't have any ambulances respond." Well, why is that? We've got 142 here showing on our screen. It's available. Oh, a supervisor took it out. Communication is the issue here, guys. I am a first responder as well in the county on a volunteer fire department. We do come out and help whenever we're needed. We're not an actual first responder unit at this point, and the reason why is coming from our trustees and our chiefs and whatever else is that they don't want to tax the volunteers in our taxing district, our body, the taxing body, of having to send guys out on calls all the time. You're talking liability and so forth. If Abbott does have a specific request, they call for an ambulance or call for a fire department to come out on a code or something. We do go ahead and make that response, but it's not every single call. Like I said, there's a lot of departments here locally that are getting burnt out on the medical calls because of the amount of calls that they're responding to, where they're having issues getting first responders to be able to respond to those calls. It's just a thing. Like I said, as everybody said here, the problem with it is the county contract. I do feel that Abbott should step up. I was one of them that spoke to one of our county board rep at that time. Said, hey guys, and he assured me, hey, so we've had meetings with Abbott. Abbott says that they're here for our community. If we need more ambulances, they will put more ambulances on. Guys, we need more ambulances. It's time to do something. Thank you.
I have a question about transfers versus 911 calls. Is the standard the same as when needing one or the other, and is there a problem with trying to cover both? Are the transfers interfering with the ability to answer 911 calls?
I would tell you by the contract, no. We keep 2 trucks. If 2 trucks go untransferred, we will not send another truck on a transfer. We maintain 2 trucks here in the county.
But there are times you might need 2 trucks to answer 911 calls,
Right.
and you got 1 truck committed for transfers.
We've got 4 trucks on.
Today you do, but not always, right?
We always got 4 trucks. We have 4 trucks.
I don't think that's accurate in saying that, sir.
100% of the time. So there has been like 2 times that 4 trucks is it. And that is the standard. That is our standard schedule is 4 trucks.
Tina and dispatchers, can you, is that accurate 100% of the time?
According to our CAD screen, there's not 100% of the time for ambulances.
Thank you.
Now, there is, like you said, there is some communication issues once in a while. You know, sometimes a rig will forget to tell us they're available. You know, so there are some inaccuracies on that. So I can't
Not
vouch
100%
just
of the
based on
time.
my
You
CAD
can't say
screen.
100% of the time.
Our schedule is to staff at 100%, 4 ambulances 100% of the time. All right, so can I respond to that, a couple things? I'll respond to that is that that is it. It is 4. And I mean, well, we can look and we can talk about communication. It's 4. That's what we're putting on 4. As far as a subsidy, there has been nobody that said anything about a subsidy.
Well, that was
There is
good.
a 0 subsidy on this contract.
I mean, we were at the county board meeting the other day, Norbert was there, Elizabeth was there, it was being bantered around the table.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that you guys said that.
Okay.
I'm just saying, they said it at the county board
Yeah,
meeting.
if there was something that was said, that was
Dave Campbell
never.
was one of them that said it.
Right.
So I'll give you the name. You can go ask him, he said, talking like they want another 100,000 to put another truck on.
I've never said.
Okay,
County
I'm
board
just telling you
chairman
what's
said
being
the
told
Okay.
to us around the table.
Okay.
And I didn't say you guys said
Yeah.
that, I said that's what was said at the county
Yeah,
board.
and there's a cost to put another truck on. You can't just say that we're running these calls without the amount of transfers, you just put another truck on. It doesn't work that way. Right? There is 0 subsidy in here. So we talk about taxpayers' money, and we don't want to spend taxpayers' money for Jasper County to go do this. Jasper County subsidized. There's nothing subsidized on your guys' EMS here in Effingham County. Your fire department is subsidized, your police is subsidized, but you don't subsidize your ambulance.
But that was the exclusive
And-
contract that you guys signed.
And it was the exclusive contract, right? And so that's why we have the 4. And then I just said, we'll put another half truck on to see if that eliminates the problem. Right? But we can go over to Paris, and you guys can talk about Paris, and over in Paris, it's the hospital that has that EMS. And so they can lose money on their EMS. It's that downstream revenue that they're getting because they're transporting their patients back there. And for us, there's no downstream revenue. It's, if I transport, I might get paid, but there's no guarantee. And if I don't transport, I know I don't get paid. Right? And so what the county contract is allowing some of the transfers in there, is it guarantees some transfers for some of the 911 work as well.
Can I ask a question? As far as a refusal, if somebody says, no, I'm not gonna go on the ambulance, you guys bill those individuals for that call then, correct? For
Yeah.
signing a refusal? Because I know of at least one
do.
instance
We got one saying we
over in
do, I guess, all right.
Altamont that they have.
Okay, then,
And it's a few $100s,
okay, for refusal.
yes.
And my question, I'm not mad at you guys by any means. I think you did it, you know, if I would have been on your side of the thing negotiating the contract, I think you guys got a pretty decent deal. And you did a good job on your side of it. But the county didn't do a good job in covering its citizens. Now, whether that's a breakdown in some kind of revenue streams that has to be worked out, that's fine. But I was never in agreement with 2 things, obviously, in the contract. One, locking all the other ambulance services out. And two, paying your building off if we decided to fire you or continue to make payments on it. I didn't think the taxpayers needed to flip that bill. If you're in town doing business, we don't pay for other private entities to come to town and pay their rent if we decide to kick them out if they're doing business with the county. So those two things I was never in agreement with. Now, if you're first on the list because we have a contract with you, if that's the way the contract's written, I don't have any problem with that. You get the first call. But if you say, hey, our guy's 46 minutes out, or we're not going to be able to respond to that right away, it ought to be immediately to Tina or Billy to go ahead and call the next one on the list, or page the next one on the list. It shouldn't have to wait and say, hey, does Abbott say it's okay if we can call these people? You know, or we can only call Jasper County, and then Jasper County says, well, we can't come. We just don't have anybody responding. I mean, the other day, what was it, in Altamont, 46 minutes or something on a heart attack call? Something like that. I mean, just ridiculous times. And it's not your fault. I'm not blaming you guys. I'm just saying that needs to be renegotiated. And there needs to be a better chain going down chain so these other agencies that are in the area get called so we get better service to the community.
Well, and I'm not saying I would agree that you want better service. What I would tell you guys,
I'm talking better service
yeah,
in terms
for
of making the
Effingham,
calls.
right? As you dilute the system to a private ambulance service, these guys come back here can tell you. If you dilute the system, our margins are slim as it is. So you can dilute
If
the
you're
system.
not available for the call,
and
it's not going to hurt your margins. You don't go on the call.
I get
Yeah.
for zero subsidy. That's where we're at.
I have a question, because it kind of has to do with this. All my dealings with Abbott have been positive. Jeff is, anytime I've needed anything, he's been there for us. You guys do a great job. Now we've got Lakeside that's becoming more of a bigger company that's available. We've got the Rural Med over there. I know you guys have a contract with Jasper because you have that mutual aid agreement. That's why they come over. Is there a possibility that from this meeting we could have, that Abbott would have a contract with these other two ambulance services? We, you know, us as a county, we need somebody there when we call. And I get it, it's, you know, nothing's free and you need to make money, but if the contract's with you, then you get the call. If you're not available, I think we need to have, what we're looking for is, where do we go next? That's what these girls want. You know, what do we do? And that's what we're all here for, when it all boils down to it. So I just, you know, you guys need to research your options, and if we need more ambulances, then we need more ambulances, and we have the contract with you. It wasn't set up between the sheriff's office or Effingham City or PSAPs. It's set up with the Effingham County Board. So I think it's upon the board to look into this, and I know we have a few board members out here. There's 9 members on the board, and we don't have all 9 here. We've got some COVID issues and things like that, so I get that. But I think that's what we need to do, is just leave it up to Abbott to come up with a solution, and so we all agree on that. We're just looking for the best thing for the citizens, all we're looking for. And I think it was great. Larry called this meeting, and I think we needed to do that. We haven't had one talking about this at this level, so I think it was a good idea. So thank you.
Yeah, if I may, I want to clear up to make sure I didn't misunderstand this. 2 things in regards to the suggestions you guys have made from an ambulance committee standpoint. Who'd you make the suggestions to?
To just the ambulance oversight committee.
So the ambulance oversight committee has a suggestion, and who they share that with?
There's a county board member or 2 that are at the meeting.
Do we know if that county board member took that suggestion back to the county board?
Not that I'm aware of.
And this is typical when you have committees and you start having these types of things. ETSB, I'm assuming a board member sits on your ETS board.
Yes, sir.
They should come back and give the county board an update. Do they always? Not very often, but this is where the things fall through the cracks. Yeah.
Many times the chairman of the board is present during the meetings as well.
Okay, well, there was another board member here, so you got 2 board members here. 3. Okay, well, great, you got 4 board members here. Guess what? You've got a serious lapse because the information obviously is not being discussed to address a solution, either accept it or deny it. Someone should go on the record whether they're going to do one or the other. The gentleman asked, and I'm not sure, forgive me if I heard it incorrectly, but if you have a 911 call and they can't respond, can you ask for someone else? And the answer was yes. Well, I don't know if that's what the contract says. I don't know, because the dispatchers had echoed.
He asked if he could call somebody else.
He could call someone else.
He didn't ask if we would call somebody else.
Okay.
If he could call someone else.
Okay. Because
So
Cumberland won't come over because they don't have a mutual aid agreement. Is that correct? I think it was Cumberland, somebody said. That should have been a mandate in the contract. There shall be mutual aid agreements if you're not available. That's crazy not to have it.
I think there is.
Then they should have that. That should be something within the county. That this is, hey, if they're not taking it, any other agency should be able to come in here. That's something, I haven't read your contract. Have your lawyer read it, because that may or may not be a problem.
I believe it's in the contract.
Yeah, I don't know, but
Sure, but I have to read it again.
there are solutions. They're just not easy, and it takes back and forth in communication. And all these suggestions doesn't sound like they've made it to the county board, or at least one member has not heard them. So that's a concern. That's all I got. Thank you.
I'll make another comment. I've got an idea that sounds like a win-win. The county needs to get completely out of the contract business with Abbott. Make one exception to that. If Abbott has a rig on, Abbott gets the call. If Abbott doesn't have a rig on, go down the line. That would incentivize you to have as many rigs on as you need to. If you get down to a status 0, you're getting skipped over, the next company gets the call. You win, you got a rig on, you get it every time. I can't see how that's a lose for the citizens. Get rid of the contract altogether. You're first on the call every time, as long as you have a rig on. If you don't have a rig on, sorry about it. Thank you.
Yeah, just years back, Mike Shaving sitting back here, ran the city county ambulance service. I worked for him. He could call on a list if they needed a second rig or third rig. They would call, and you're aware of that too. They'd call, and within 10 minutes from the call, even midnight, I could be in a rig, hot rig, and gone. I'd ask at some of our meetings if you guys have a list of medics here where you can call them back, and here there was not a list like that, or if there was a list, that doesn't happen or anything where you can call your guys back like, hey, we need another rig, we need a fifth rig.
Like an on-call.
On call, yeah. So, I mean, we went in detail on this stuff. So we did, we really did.
Yeah, and that worked really good then. There was more EMTs, more medics. Now,
I think the issue there, Ron, is there's so many people that don't actually live here anymore. You know what I'm saying? There's not the amount of local EMTs versus what used to have.
You know, it just, I don't want to go too in-depth in this stuff, but even like lift assists that they have to go on, I had asked if the fire departments could respond as well to save these poor medics back, because a lot of times these poor ladies, or people, I should say, they fall between the bed and the wall, and two medics, you know, if there's 4, you know, you're lifting 25%, you know, if there's 2, you're lifting 50%. We went in detail how, and that would speed up the calls too, because you know, that rig is out of service until they're completed there. We just any way to speed this up. I mean, like I said, we did go into detail on the 0 status at the ambulance oversight.
triaging calls, I think you're talking about triaging medical calls, like a call that's something that's not really an emergent call, you know, to take it from a 911 status and move it down to, you know, it can be 15, 20 minutes down the road. Like maybe it's a transfer out of the hospital back home, or going from the hospital over to a nursing home, something like that.
See, that's a contract issue. I brought 3 sample contracts the last go-around when we negotiated this that had those very things in there.
Yeah.
The different levels of calls and how much time they had to respond to each one of those calls. And if they didn't, of course, there was remedies for that. But it would have laid out, you know, a heart attack is at the top level. Grandma fell down at the nursing home. They didn't have to be there in 10 or 15 minutes. It made 30 minutes, 40 minutes was acceptable, that kind of thing. You know, whatever it was, but none of that wanted to be, they didn't want to talk about any of that. They didn't want any of that in the contract.
Even lift assist, you don't know until you get there to assess the scene, you know.
You don't.
No, exactly. You have to act like it's a cardiac.
Well, a lot of that is at nursing homes, Ron. Well, many of those are, a lot of those.
Some of them, but yeah, but not.
And they already have medical professionals that help them.
Triaging calls,
Not all of them, but
makes a difference, because you're not, you know, when you call 911, the rules of dispatch think it's an emergent situation, we need an ambulance right now, whereas it may not be, you know, actually, it might just be something that transfer from here to here, and it's not an emergent patient, it's not maybe even a sick patient, they just need to be ambulated, you know, in an ambulance, so.
Did
we
you
could
speak up,
triage
Larry?
those.
I can't hardly hear you, and I know they probably can't hear you.
Yeah, I'm going through this mask.
Yeah, no.
Well, Jared?
As far as helping out Abbott, one of the things we'd like to be considered as far as helping out is, as far as local staff goes, that's kind of a little bit of a myth. We actually have 8 paramedics that are based out of that live inside Effingham County. Like if you guys get real busy, we need to bring up another truck, we can call them in at any time. That also helps out. One of the things we're doing to help out as well is we've noticed a need for, basically it's a, I don't know if you guys are familiar, it's an ALS non-transport unit, where we're currently getting it licensed right now. It's actually sitting outside. It's basically everything that's in an ambulance. They call them different things everywhere, fly cars, sprint units, and there's one place on the east and west side of the city. What that means if you have a call out in Dietrich, or if you have a call out in Altamont, or Abbott needs help and they just need another paramedic, you know, that's an option as well. But that was one of the things we talked about. We thoroughly talked about, and you guys brought it up, and none of them are here. But when I worked at City County Ambulance, you always knew if you needed a truck, you call up the Belkers. You know, Andy and Melissa, they'd be there in a heartbeat. They'd bring up a truck, 5 minutes, no matter what day or night, and they were good to go. And that was one of the things we really want to harp on, because a lot of, we're in the same boat. Some of our people come from Springfield. We've had people from Chicago. We've moved people down to help work, but there is a slim pickings, and it gets to the point where, I mean, you're paying top dollar for your people. I mean, our medics clear 80 base, our EMTs clear 58 base. It's rough out there, but a good suggestion, if we could all work together on an operation side, talking to GMR here, you know, putting on that extra truck, I get that. For us, that's, what is that, $10,000, $11,000 a week before taxes and workers' comp. That's a big, you know, right out the gate, that tells them we got to take 14 transfers. We got to take 30 911 calls just to make up for it. The way we set ourselves up in our other area was very successful. We're able to operate at maximum capacity, and then we have it set up to where we reach out to mutual aid. Sometimes it's rural med, sometimes it's other services. We've even called Abbott a couple times. But that way, you know, for a temporary fix or a long term, you know, you guys are able to utilize the maximum potential out of your trucks without having a truck sitting. Because there's days where, you know, oh, we're always busy on Friday, let's put on 5 trucks. And you run 3 calls. You know, what the hell? Sunday's our slowest day, and you get 37 requests. If you could ever predict emergencies, that'd be great. If anyone could figure out how to do that, but you can't. And, you know, it's tough for one service to do it. So I'm right there with John Perry. I don't see it, you know, so much with Abbott. It's just, you can't prepare for every possible scenario, you know. A certain amount of trucks should be plenty at a given time. You know, I heard that call drop earlier. That was a rough call. I mean, could have used, you know, 2 trucks, fire department, it still would have been a rough call. You know, two responders, 4 responders, whether you work them on scene or you transport. You know, we always talk about on the EMS side, you know, it's kind of, I want to say it's funny, it's ironic. We work a cardiac arrest a lot of times, you know, all these companies successfully with 2 people in the back. You walk into the ER and there's 19 people waiting in Trauma 1 at St. Anthony's for you. And, well, we've been doing this with 2 or 3 people. So the point being is there's just more help in the area without killing everybody's banks, you know, that, you know, going back to the fact that we are here to help if we can meet up sometime or come to an agreement. And the other thing we learned when I talked about us going to court for so long is these mutual aid agreements don't actually hold nothing. It means nothing. It's no different than, like, you know, I'll mow your yard 1 week, you mow mine. It's just a good old boy thing. There's no legal process there. Now, if you get into box card level with Mavis, then there is, because then you're on box cards. But as far as, like, one of the dispatchers had mentioned that they can't call, with your question, we had that, you know, John was my supervisor for a long time in City County. Those private line calls can be your worst and most deadly because you're walking into a scene, dispatch has no idea you're there, and it just happened, I forgot where it was a shortness of breath call, and the 2 medics were shot at point blank range in the chest. It was just a shortness of breath call. So those private line calls get real dangerous, and you have a lot of other things too. I get on the radio and say, hey, I need help. Sure, where are you? That's all I could say because now my radio is gone. You know, so we like being able to communicate with the telecommunicators on where we're at if we're on a call. As petty as it sounds, I've had some of the silliest calls turn into really bad situations real quick.
Okay. Well, we've discussed a lot here tonight.
I'll say something. The honest to God truth is, for every 10 paramedic jobs around, there's one medic to fill that position. There's a crisis right now for EMS.
Oh, it is, it's huge.
So if we're not helping each other, we're just going downhill from there. We need to have agreements set in place. We're all the way up in St. Elmo now. We can cover this whole east side, west side over here if they need help. We're here for them if they need it.
Anything else before we put this one to bed? Yes, sir.
I'd like to address something, Jared. You mentioned from an operations side, I'm assuming each ambulance agency has an ambulance coordinator that deals with whoever you're whether it's Sarah Bush or wherever you're out of. It may be a fight the first time y'all get together, but if your ambulance coordinators got together and put some suggestions together and brainstorm and put together a list of what may or may not work, and I say that's a starting point because I don't know what the contract says and what may or may not be legally allowed to do, because you may have solutions, but it may be in violation of the contract. Well, if you got the solutions, now you got something you can take back to the county board and say, hey, we as a group, from an operational standpoint, identified the problem, found a solution. County board, you're going to have to act in order to implement it. And that may or not be the case, I don't know, because I don't know what all the suggestions may or may not be. But it's got to start with your ambulance coordinators, your leadership side of this, and make that happen.
911 calls come down to the EMS system coordinators and medical directors have no say in 911 calls. We're dealing with a different fight down south. Same thing. We had a long time. Not reference to that.
He's just saying they should put the solutions together for them.
Yeah, if everybody, if all those coordinators, if you all met and figured out what may or may not be a solution, not, just ignore that there is a contract from that brainstorming standpoint of solving the problem. Once you have all these solutions on the table, now you take it to the county board and say, what can we or can we not do based on the contract? And if it becomes, hey, the contract's the problem, well, now you know what you have to do to fix the problem. It may or may not be the case, I don't know.
Logistically, it makes no sense. I mean, like for example, if we were in town, on the operations side, different insurances pay different amounts. You know, there's some that pay nothing, some that pay really great. You know, from a logistics standpoint, with GMR and Abbott, you know, if you had somebody in town to help you guys out, and Sarah Bush calls and 3 trucks are out, now if you say, hey, you guys got trucks available to cover us, no problem. Vice versa. You know, you get the most potential out of it. So I guess what I'm saying is you're not losing money. And if you get to the point where you're passing off so many calls that it is worth putting on another truck, then put on another truck. But if not, it's like with us, our trucks are on non-stop because we have mutual aid. And it leaves it to where we can get our maximum potential out of our trucks, and you're not really, forking out all the money and labor and expenses because, if we wanted to be greedy and take every single call down south where we're at, the cost in labor to be able to do that, you got to put, not with them, I don't mean by that, but like in that situation, you put pride aside, reach out for help, and honestly, GMR and Abbott kind of wins in that situation because they're getting the best potential out of their crews, and they're getting the best potential financially to be able to operate and stay afloat because there is no subsidiary. For example, like Robinson, Crawford County is smaller than Effingham County. It's $330,000 a year for 2 trucks. So there is no incentive here, except for the fact that if you are here, you're most likely going to get called first for transfers, and that's where unfortunately, there's no reimbursements anywhere, but that's the best chance to get a good reimbursement is out of the mileage out of a transfer, but with that comes being out of the county. So, if you guys want to take an extra one out of Sarah Bush or something like that, we have trucks, we always cover each other, and everybody kind of wins in that situation without threatening either company.
One down the road thing, if I may, Chairman, and this isn't a quick fix by any means, but we ran into this situation, and for us in our community, Kansas Township, our only option was go to the voters and say, hey, we need an ambulance tax. And we put it to them because of all the problems we had. And it turned out they passed 73% of the people wanted that ambulance. It wasn't that astronomical per household, and now we've got 2 ALS units in our township. So we were able to subsidize, and we presented that from a standpoint of being able to provide the service to eliminate the problem we had from Paris being too long to get to us. And again, that's not a short-term fix. To get that on the ballot and go through that process, that's not going to happen quick. Especially when you start collecting the money, it takes another year. But that's what we had to do years ago to fix this very problem. So when we talk about the challenge of the subsidy side of it, I hate new taxes. I'm not for them, but at the same time, there's that balance. You've got to be able to provide public safety, and the way to do that, somebody's got to pay. And it turned out that was a simple solution that I was shocked how many people actually wanted that for what that's worth. As a fire department, I don't know how many fire districts are in here, but your fire district can pass an ambulance levy for an ambulance operation, and you can contract that business out. So if whatever Altamont or whatever fire district is out there say, hey, we want to have a contract for ambulance, they can contact Abbott or Rural or whoever, and they can enter that contract and use that tax money for that purpose. It's not like the department personnel have to be the ones manning it. So think about that as an option long term.
Well, there's a lot of great information that's come out tonight. A lot of people voiced their concerns, some ideas, a lot of good stuff. All we can do right now, there's a lot of notes we're taking. What we can do right now is take it back to the appropriate people, committees, boards, companies, and voice their concerns and work it from there and find solutions and put it together. I do appreciate all of you coming here tonight. Greg?
Larry, I hear what you said, but what does happen from here, I understand your motivation, but what's the next thing that's going to happen? And who in here can let us know?
The next thing that's going to happen is I will stay in touch with Joe and Heather here and find out what they're going to do as far as on Abbott's side. The other part of this picture, like John talked about earlier, we need to collaborate with the county board and the oversight committee to find out, what their thoughts and feelings are. So based on that collaboration, based on what we come together with as an agreement, we're going to find solutions. We're going to make it better.
Can you set a meeting up for 2 months? Can you set that up right now?
Is 2 months good for everybody? Does that sound like something we can work with?
Are you saying another one of these, Larry?
Yeah. Another one of these.
I don't think it needs to take that long. I think in a month, we would probably at the end of January, we could probably get back together. You're gonna have more than enough time by then to talk to them.
I was just thinking about the holiday season.
That's over after the 1st of January.
That and COVID. But I'm.
We could just call. I think we just ought to call a meeting once we go and we can reach out and all of us as a committee can reach out and with people on the ambulance, make sure that we talk. And the county board members that are here can facilitate that also. And then if we need to have another meeting to get more public input, we can do that. That's my thoughts instead of just randomly setting a date. But, I mean, it may happen, I hope it happens sooner than later. This is a problem for both our 911 centers, and it's a huge problem, I mean, I'm not as young as I used to be. I'm like you said this before, John, you're out the lake, you need an ambulance, you want an ambulance.
I don't wanna wait 46 minutes like they did over in Altamont, I can tell you that.
Absolutely. So we all have skin in this game, so I think it's, none of us here are to try to put this off. And I think everybody knows that. So, and, I look for Abbott to make it come with some solutions really quick if they can, and we can get on this and go from there. So, I'm not opposed to setting a date, but I if we can get to something sooner, then I think we should and see some action. My hope is we don't have to do this again, to be honest with you. I hope we can get the balls rolling, and the people that need to make this happen, make it happen.
I guess the question is who directs the 911 what to do next? They've screamed for help. They're asking for help. They're asking for guidance. who is going to guide them?
911 board.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're
911
gonna,
committee.
they're gonna do, as we've done in the past, everything we can. That's why we're here, is to try to solve those issues and take care of this problem. So the 911 does not have to wait for the county board to decide what to do.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes, sir.
I don't see that just setting another meeting as being accountable. We have to have some things specified that need to be done in the next 30 days or something like that. I mean, we don't need to just say we're gonna meet again and talk about this.
Well, the meeting would be
Time
for
somebody to
solution.
get together and come up with a solution
Right.
and not just be continuing to talk about it.
No, it's not to continue to talk about it, it's to talk about the solutions and to lay out the solutions to fix the problem. Hopefully, we'll have solutions in place by that time. We should have already.
Do you guys have do you maintain a 911 website of any kind?
We do.
yeah.
Like an ETSB website? One thing that we found works really well, and it's kind of like the inbox, be prepared, but asking your community, hey, if you had to solve this problem, how would you solve it? It is a godsend what people will come up with, and some of them are crazy, but man, a lot of your people have the solutions, we just haven't got the problem in front of them yet.
Well, we knew that this needed to be brought together here before it turned into something that was uncontrollable.
I got a quick question. So there's a contract between the county board and Abbott. This isn't the county board, I understand that, but my question is, if the contract's not working, which there's been problems for a while, what is it gonna take for the county board to say, look, you have 90 days to figure it out? Schedule whatever meetings you want between here and then. But I think something needs to be put in somewhere to where, hey, this is your 90-day notice. It has to be fixed. We can't keep dragging it on. It's been going on long enough. Been a lot of controversy surrounding it. Somebody needs to put their foot down and say, this is it. This is it. You got 90 days. Is that this body? Or is this the county board?
This is not the county board. This is a committee of the 911.
I'm not all on the Meetings Act, but if somebody can make a motion that this is the recommendation to the full county board, Abbott needs to be given 90 days notice, I think now's the time to do it.
Yeah, it would take 5 members of the county board to invoke that, unless there's a supermajority clause in it, I don't know if there is or not. But it would take if there's 9 members, it would take at least 5 to affirmatively.
I think what he's saying is there needs to be a recommendation from this
From this
committee.
board
that
to
goes
the-
back
Kind of like what Greg's wanting to put, you know, is
I think
where does
what-
it go from here? We need a definitive, this is the next step. I think putting Abbott on a 90-day notice would be the logical solution. Look, guys, the contract's not working. This is in our contract to exercise the 90-day option. We got 90 days to fix it. That's what the citizens would say. Hey, you got the contract, fine. And again, I don't fault Abbott. But the official process would be to say, hey, it's not working, 90 days.
Okay, I think this process has started. However, we do not have the authority to start what you're wanting to do. Okay, we are a committee of 911. We are not the county board.
Can this committee as a whole agree to make that recommendation to the county board? Is that what this body is for?
We can make recommendations, and we
Right.
can voice concerns, and that's really what we're doing here tonight, is trying to get everybody's thoughts, feelings, concerns, ideas, all that.
I just think from a legal standpoint, there should be a definitive decision, something notated. This is it. This is where we draw the line.
I guess at this point, there's nothing that goes back to the county board that says the county board has to revisit this issue.
No, that's correct, Adam.
No, you're right.
That is correct.
So that's why he's saying, can you guys make a recommendation that it at least gets put on the agenda for the county board
Because
to?
it is hard to get things on the agenda, I will personally say that.
Why? You're a board member. They should be able to get anything on the agenda.
He's had issues on getting things on the agenda as well.
We got gatekeepers, if you're not a committee chair, or you don't get anything on the agenda.
And then your electors aren't being represented.
Well,
I know a poll of the people in attendance wouldn't be binding by any means, but could we get a show of hands to see who thinks that something formal should be said and made official today? Do you think that something official needs to take place today, if it can, for the county board to take up the issue?
We don't need to do that. That's what we're here for. We just set up here and we had this meeting. Larry called this meeting to get the information. We have the information. We're not gonna make any actions on what we're gonna do without, we have the issues and we're gonna discuss through what we have. We're not here to make a stance against this issue. We just brought this up less than an hour, or an hour and 20 minutes ago, we started talking about this. So things take a little bit of time. We've been dealing with this for a while, and this is our next step that we're doing. So give us a little bit of time is what I'm asking.
In response to that, Dave, we've got ambulance oversight members that are sitting here that said that they brought it up multiple times, that nothing has been done.
That it hasn't got to the board.
It hasn't ever got to the county board.
Okay, we have 4 members of the county board here.
Here tonight.
Here tonight. So I think the county, at least 4 out of 9%, I don't know, my math is that great, 42% of the county board is here tonight. So it is in the county board. I can tell you that right now.
Yeah.
You know.
But as a member of the county board, I would invite you or, to come to the county board and speak to us at our next meeting and do a report. Don't rely on one of us, but come with the force of your committee to make a report to the county board so that we feel some obligation to act on what you're recommending.
Okay. Not planning on doing that anyway, but yeah.
And we as a committee are gonna take this to our 911 next 911 meeting, and we can act on that there. And we could take a vote if we want to do something. This is gonna happen anyway, whether we vote on it or not. I can tell you that, because I'm gonna talk to the county board about it. I could talk to every member of the county board myself.
The thing we don't want to do is make a knee-jerk reaction and push things into position that may or may not work right, or may not be correct, without first going through the process of making it happen. And tonight is a beginning, and that's really what this is just a beginning. And I know this issue's been going on for a long time. It's gotten worse over time. We understand that. But we took the time to be transparent here and make sure that everybody here had a voice. And we're taking that voice and we're going to bring it to the appropriate places, boards, committees, companies, and work the problem. But it's not going to happen tonight. It's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take time. It took time to get here. It's going to take time to fix it from here. And we don't want to do a knee-jerk reaction, and maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. So we do understand the problem and appreciate it. Everybody, all your communication, I appreciate it. And I appreciate your time coming here, spending time away from your family and coming here in the evening, especially right before Christmas when everybody might want to be at home with your families or shopping. But I think we can safely say everybody's had a chance to speak well about this, and we will not let it die. I promise you. We will stay on top of it.
There was a little confusion there. This has nothing to do with ambulance at all, just being a Effingham County resident. So whether it's the oversight committee or somebody else, they hold no authority. They make a recommendation to you guys. And I don't mean this in any disrespectful way, I mean this and it doesn't make sense to me. So you guys don't have any sort of authority when it comes to getting stuff addressed at county board meetings? Now look at the table, you've got the heads of everybody. You've got the sheriff, you've got the chief, you've got the head of the ER, you're head of ARIVAC.
This takes care of the 911 dispatch, the 911 board.
Okay, gotcha.
That's what we take care of. So if it's radios, dispatch issues, stuff like that, that's what we take care of.
Okay, I understand.
Okay.
I didn't catch that.
Yeah. So the dispatchers, through the oversight committee, voiced their concerns. We're addressing that. That's where it is.
So this body is the ETSB.
The committee.
A committee of
The three of us are on the 911 board, and I think there are 9 members. Well, I'm sorry, and also, well, we are the committee. The 3 of us are the committee. However, these two members are also on the 911 board.
Okay.
So we have 5 members here that are on the board.
Okay.
Okay, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Second? Thank you, everybody, for coming. Have a Merry Christmas.